and we're going to be installing some lowering springs on the 2019 Scatpack that I'm going to show you here. To get started, this is what's going to be going on there. Let's take a look. H&R springs, 1.4 drop in the front and 1.7 in the rear. Stock suspension. Look at those great cooling air ducts. Alright, so we're going to try to do a step-by-step and try to show you guys how to install lowering springs on a 2019 Charger Scatpack. Stay tuned. Alright, so we're going to be first taking off this top
upper control arm.
18 open end and an 18. So 18 and 18. 18 nut, 18 bolt. And then next we're going to be removing this one right here. So as you can see, we sit it on a block just so it could gain its attention. That way when we remove the bolts, it doesn't just fly out or spring out. Alright, so we remove the top bolt. Just be careful, there is tension on this very top one. So what you like to do is maybe grab a jack to release some of that tension before you completely remove that bolt. It's gonna boom, shoot up. So for this here, it's gonna be a 15 on the right here, the bolt, and on that nut, it's gonna be a 16. Boom, that removes the sway bar. All right, so sway bar out. Next step we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the shock bolt right here. Then we'll move on down.
And 18 on the nut.
15 on the bolt and 18 on the nut. Boom. Shock bolt is removed. Next thing you're going to want to do is move on down. You're going to remove that far end bolt. This one right here. So recap, upper control arm removed, sway bar removed, down here, shock bolt and nut removed. Next thing you're gonna remove is that rear bolt. All right, so there's gonna be an 18 in the back and a 15 in the front here. You guys have your ratcheting wrench to make your life a lot easier just because the exhaust is very close to that bolt. So no air ratchet, or the ratchet will fit, but you'll have difficulties. Alright, we ran into a little snag here. So basically this bolt won't come out because it's hitting the exhaust. So what we're going to do, if you follow the exhaust, there's a hanger that holds the exhaust. As you can see right there is a 15. All right, so there's gonna be a 13 right up here, 13. All right, so basically now we're going up with it. All the pressure is relieved. Got all those bolts off, out. All right, so now we're just gonna remove the spring and install the new one. Alright, so out with the old stock spring and new H&R spring. Make sure that this boot, I'll show you guys in the other one I messed up, but this boot here was on the bottom. Sorry, on the bottom, you want to take that boot and put it on this new one. And then make sure you have your boot that sits up here, because it's gonna fall. You put it back on there. All right, so I know all of you guys are not gonna have a lift at home. It makes it a lot easier, but you can't do it with the jack. Make sure you jack the rear up pretty high. Same thing, try to find a block. And you can set this lower control arm to relieve tension when you're removing all bolts. That's all you'll need. It's a block to put underneath the control arm if you're doing it at home with jacks, just to relieve the tension from the spring itself. Alright, so if you guys are having difficulties when putting the bolt back on and lining up that hole, there's a trick you can use. Tie strap. That way you can just pivot it closer. You'll strap it right there in that control arm. You follow it and you snap it onto that other control arm. They're both bolted on, so you're not going to do no damage at all. You'll just need just enough to switch it over. Back in, you're just going to do everything back in reverse. Put that one back in. Shock. Back in. Sway bar. And then the upper control arm. Alright guys, here for the front. These are going to be the proper steps to removing the front shock and spring. We're going to start off with removing this bolt here, which is the sway arm bolt. It's going to be a 21. So we're going to start off with that, and then we're going to jump from that down to the shock bolt down here, which is an 18. And then we're going to move on, take off that cover, and take off. There's 3 bolts underneath there. We'll get to that. This top sway arm bolt, you're going to use a 10 open wrench to hold it. And then you're going to go ahead and use the 21 to remove it. Just hold that and then back it out. Reverse. Make sure you hold that one steady, straight, and just back out the nut. Air tour impact. The other option is to get a 10mm open wrench. Just back out the actual stud itself, not the nut. 18.
Pretty tight.
Alright, that cover off, you can use a flathead or one of the pry tools and make it a lot easier. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to remove these 3 bolts. 1, 2, 3. Once we remove those 3 bolts, this whole assembly will basically come off as a whole. You'll be able to remove that spring. All right guys, so upon removing the 3 bolts from top, try to slip this out, but we can't realize that we're gonna have to remove this bolt, this control arm right here, just so we can swing this forward. It's not allowing it to come out of this precision, this right here. So we're gonna remove this, which is 18, and out. So if you have the skirt out already, we're going to be using an actual machine here that we have at the shop. But if you don't have an actual machine to remove the spring from the shock, you can rent one at Pet Boys. Basically, it's a clamp that goes side to side, compresses the spring, and then you can remove this top bolt, and that will take off the top hat in order for you to remove the spring out and out of the way. So let's show you how we're going to do it here at the shop. That we're talking about. And what we're going to do, 18 on top, we're going to remove that top bolt. Here we go. That's how the spring shock comes apart. And now time for the new one. Alright guys, so we put back the bolts, reverse order. You put back the bolts here, both, bam, just reverse everything. Same thing with here. Reverse, put that back on. You're gonna bring those, tighten back that on, the shock, and then boom, it's good to go.